Well, it had something to do with it. Like you said, I just played the one season and it was very enjoyable. And coming back here, I think we came back here when I was with Grand Rapids. That would have been about 5 years ago. And it was good to see how the city's kind of growing a bit. One thing's consistent, the fan support was excellent, but it's just a good organization. Great fan support, great community, great organization with a rich history. And to be part of it, I'm extremely proud.
Hey Todd, I'm Tim Gross with the Carlisle Sentinel.
Yeah.
Just overall impressions of the first day of camp, what were you looking to accomplish? And you brought in the local kid, Shane Seller. What are you going to look for from him today?
He looked pretty good. I'd like to see him in 5-on-5 play. We're going to see that as the week goes on. But I was happy with today. It was a tough day because of our numbers. We had 27 guys out there on the ice, and it was like we had too small of a group to do any scrimmaging. We'll probably scrimmage Thursday and Friday. We have some guys that have to clear waivers today. They'll be on the ice tomorrow. And it was a big group for a practice like that. So it was a good first day. Nobody got injured, as far as I know. But we got something out of them today. And then tomorrow we're going to do 2 separate practices. One practice is going to be for the game group on Wednesday morning, the game in Wilkes-Barre. And then the rest of the guys will practice them and get something out of them. But I'm happy with the first day.
Don Scott, almost Hobson. Did you reach out to the Caps for this job, or did they come to you?
I reached out to both Brian Helmer and also with the Caps. So obviously, I'm very happy to be here, work with the organization. I've been treated like gold here, right, with the Caps, obviously here in Hershey, and happy to be here.
Michael Borgsegner, CBS 21 News. You have some history, obviously, with the team. Brian said you've already had a run-in with a fan who's kind of set expectations for you, I guess, your neighbor.
Fans, not just one fan, fans. 3 or 4 different occasions, it's been mentioned that it's been a while since a cup came home to Hershey.
How cool is it to be involved in a club that has this much history and to be, and fan expectations?
Well, I think it's great. We're all in this game to win. Obviously, we have to develop people for Washington, but I think winning is a form of development. We want to have a winning culture here. I think we owe it to the people of Hershey that support the Hershey Bears to have a winning club. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, we're given the resources. I think a lot of the guys that were in Washington served themselves well. A lot of good hockey players in that room right now. There's going to be some tough decisions coming down the pipe.
Pat Williams, TheAHL.com. You spent your time in Dallas last few years. What did you learn there, and especially working with someone like Rick Bowness?
You know what? If any coach tells you that they know everything, they don't. So you're always looking for stuff to learn. And so what I learned from Jim Montgomery and Rick Bowness is more of the play away from the puck, a defensive style. We had to play a defensive style in Dallas to be successful. And so we focus on that quite a bit, and that certainly helped me out because I always like teaching the offensive side of the game. So, you learn every year. There's always something new. And also during the pandemic, we had all this downtime, and we took that opportunity to do studies on the top teams of the National Hockey League and see what traits they have. And it was kind of uncanny because all the successful offensive teams are doing the same thing, so you can see the pattern. So you always learn, and I'm looking forward this year to learning from Nick Boulin and Patrick Weller. They're all going to learn from each other, and that's what we're in this business for.
Todd Sadowski with Fox 43 Sports. You mentioned the winning tradition, but you got to wear 2 hats as a coach for an organization and for the city and the team. So how do you balance that as you go through the season? You're trying to do your job to develop these players for the Capitals, but also satisfy the thirst of winning and trying to hang another banner. Well,
what's fortunate for me is, as a coaching staff, we're lucky that we have some very talented young players coming here. So it's going to be a competitive camp. I'm asked that question all the time. How do you develop and win at the same time? You can do it. You know what I'm saying? But it comes to a point where maybe a kid's not ready yet. He's not confident. So maybe a stint in South Carolina will help them get their confidence and then bring them back up. Every time I've experienced that with players in the past, they've always came back better. and more confident. And so, like, there's going to be movement like that this year, but, you know, we can't lose sight of the younger guys, but also with that being said, with the veteran players that want to win, it's a balance. We just have to keep our finger on it, but everyone's going to get an opportunity to showcase their abilities, and we're going to put the best team on the ice that we can. But also, with that being said, we have to give the kids a chance.
Todd, Jared Phillips, ABC 27. When you looked at this job, obviously coming through the ranks in the NHL as an assistant, what kind of maybe changed your opinion or perception around wanting to be a head coach? What specifically kind of drew you to that?
Well, to be quite honest, being an assistant in Dallas was a great experience. Like I said, I learned a lot. But after 4 years of doing that, actually after a couple of years, to be quite honest, I wanted to get back into head coaching. There's only 32 jobs in the National Hockey League for head coaching opportunities. Next best thing for me is to coach the American League again. I'm very familiar with the league, although I'm not familiar with the Eastern Conference. I haven't coached in the East since my days in Atlanta in the National League. So it's going to be, you know, I'm just looking forward to being a head coach again. I like being the guy. I like the pressure. I like the expectations, and that's why coming here to Hershey is a perfect fit.
Past, in Grand Rapids, you mentioned coaching's, you know, kind of part art and part science.
Mm-hmm.
Could you kind of expand on that a little bit and just?
Well, like, what I meant is that, to explain it simply, is I view coaching as arts and science, right? And the science is the technical package you put together, how you can play through the neutral zone. And the art is becoming really important, especially with the new athletes of today, and is how do you get these guys to buy in? How do you get these guys to become a family? How do you get these guys to play hard for each other? And it's my job to provide that leadership. And that's very important because come playoff time, you know, weather starts getting nice and guys start to think, okay, it'd be nice to go home for summer. But if you have a bond with your team, have a family atmosphere, they don't want the season to end, and they'll go through the wall for each other. It's my job to create that atmosphere. It sounds like it's, you know, from everybody I've talked to and just experienced the guys, it's a great group in there. And they're all excited to get started, so am I. Yeah, but that's simply what I meant with the arts and the science. You have to know your stuff technically, but also you have to understand the player and gain trust and respect. And it's a two-way street because that's how you get through to players. Some players are different. Some players need to be disciplined. Some players need a hug. And it's up to me to find out what makes these guys tick.
Go to Todd, and then we'll finish up.
Coach, specifically when you got the job and you're talking with Brian about this team and last year, you mentioned you like to teach the offensive side of the game, and the team struggled last year to score some goals. So what were your discussions like with Brian? Is that why you bring in Sam? You know, talk about that part of it, addressing some of the offensive.
Yeah, he mentioned that, and last year was kind of a tough year. I think they, you know, from what I heard, they had to deal with COVID, a lot of injuries, a lot of movement going up and down. And I asked Brian, I said, was it personnel related? Because there was so much movement. He goes, pretty much it was. But, you know, we brought in Sam. Like, he's, you know, a good scorer. And like, from what I see, from what I saw in Washington, we should be able to score some goals. Now, that's if everybody stays healthy, of course, and Washington stays healthy. But that's never the case. But we feel going into this season, Hershey and Washington signed quite a few extra depth players. So that's going to help not only the Hershey Bears, but South Carolina. They're poised to have a really strong team. And it's the view of the whole organization, Washington to Hershey to South Carolina, to have three strong clubs. And so they brought in some more personnel than they normally would, just to kind of cover the bases. And I was just looking at some of the stats from the guys. There's guys that may not play here that played in the American League for the last 3 years. It's just the way it is.